Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is part two. I believe it's gonna be part two of this Deku What If. What if Deku was an Earthbender? If you guys enjoy, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. Sorry for slacking so hard on these videos. As y'all know, I had some family stuff. Like, people were over all the time, so I couldn't really record. And then, some other stuff came up, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It's like, just life, right? Random life stuff comes up sometimes. But, yeah, I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into it. So, let's get it. Izuku Midoriya faces off with Katsuki Bakugo, and really, there's only one way this fight is going to go, and that is in the direction of Izuku Midoriya. But this is his opportunity, his chance to really show that there is levels between him and Bakugo, and this is exactly what happens, because when they start clashing, they start fighting, Bakugo shoots explosion after explosion after explosion, making tiny bits of earth and the ground and stone all around them, to the point where there was so much everywhere that he gets a bit of deja vu from an earlier round with the one and only Ochako Uraraka, when Izuku starts raising all the stones, sharpening all of them as well, and he launches all of them at Bakugo from various different directions, to the point where he cannot evade, he cannot avoid, and he gets struck by a multitude of them, and he gets pushed straight to the ground, falling right on his face before you know it, unable to actually keep up and unable to actually defend himself. Defeating Katsuki Bakugo, though, was a foregone conclusion, and frankly, everybody knew that this is exactly how the fight would end up going. And on top of that, there's a lot of people out there that are cheering on Izuku and cheering on the fact that he has been showing one hell of a performance. Not only has he been showing it in the UA Sports Festival, but he's been showing it on every occasion you can possibly imagine. Izuku Midoriya is showing off his capabilities and where he's at in terms of a level, in terms of a potential superhero, and he continues to show every single person that there is going to be a large thing ahead of him in terms of his capabilities, in terms of what he's going to do here and now, and in terms of what he potentially can get done in the future of the hero world. I mean, he's out here doing he's out here showing his potential, showing what he can do, and showing that every single person, hero, and so on should be on watch, because Izuku Midoriya is on his way to the top, and there's nothing that is going to stop him. And he truly believes that, truly and utterly believes that there is nothing that is going to slow him down. And that right there is the truth. And as the winner of the UA Sports Festival, so many people cheer his name, and so many people are excited to see what eventually he's going to do. And this would lead him to getting countless offers from various different internships and other things like that. And a lot of the offers include various top heroes, but one that he didn't expect he would get, and one that he actually ended up having, is actually Best Jeanist. Someone who he's excited to work with and believes that he can transcend himself to that next level. But someone else also accepted that same invitation, and that is Katsuki Bakugo. And let's just say they don't get along too well, but Best Jeanist is really wanting both of them to work together, because he believes not only will they bring the best out of each other, but they'll also bring this kind of competitive reality right in front of each other as well. And that's exactly what happens. They're going head to head every single day, back and forth, and yes, Izuku shows a lot more promise in terms of being your traditional hero, but Bakugo himself, he has all the promise in the world in terms of power, capabilities, and so much more as well. But at the end of the day, Best Jeanist wants to get the best out of both of them and get the most out of both of them as well. And that's what he's potentially trying to do. That's what his goal is. That is what he is looking forward to doing. And after days of working with both of them, and after really not getting, let's just say, much done with Bakugo, because in all honesty, Bakugo is a stubborn idiot a lot of the times, but at the end of the day, he does, they do have, some decent time there. But at the end of the day, and after almost a week, they would get a call back to UA, a call back because of, unfortunately, someone was put in the hospital. Tenya Ida being attacked by the hero killer, and Izuku Midoriya not actually being there. Well, that leads to Tenya being, hospitalized for quite a while, and Izuku and many others are forced to basically go straight forward and continue pushing on as their final exams are coming up very, very soon. And these final exams, well, they include vast amounts of things. Well, for starters, you have your written portion and stuff like that. But the main thing to think about, and the main thing to really, really understand, is that this portion of the final exam also includes a practical, and this practical is definitely not your traditional robot v heroes and stuff like that. No. It is actually going to be some up and coming heroes facing off with, well, the other another teacher as well. And Bakugo and Izuku are going to have to team up once again and take on literally the greatest hero alive, being that of All Might. And this fight, yes, in a technical sense, they're not going to be able to take down All Might. They're not going to be able to, defeat him in a traditional way. But them together, they do show some capabilities. And after some back and forth and arguments all alike, eventually, and finally, they decide, okay, you know what? We're not going to do this. We're not going to argue. We're not going to, bicker and all this BS. And eventually, they're able to take that, they're able to take it to All Might and really start fighting All Might. And together with the explosions and the various amounts of kind of usage of earthbending that Izuku could really use and maintain and slow down All Might to a certain degree, eventually they get an opening that they could actually escape the battlefield, leading to them winning this portion of their exam, even though they did get hurt quite a bit. And unfortunately, yes, it's not the most beautiful win in the world, but at the end of the day, they defeated quote-unquote All Might, or quote-unquote defeated All Might, and they were able to really show what they were capable of and really show that they had capabilities beyond most of the hero's students. And this would allow them to go to the forest training camp, luckily enough. And when they head off over there, they have a ton of training to do. But unfortunately, that training would be cut short when a vast amount of villains would show up invading that same forest training camp. And Izuku would fight alongside everybody, fight alongside his classmates, his teammates, his teachers, to defend everyone they possibly can. And Izuku, well, he would go face to face with even a giant, monstrous dude by the name of Muscular, where he does everything in his power to fend him off, utilizing a version of a kind of stone-like suit that he goes blow for blow with this guy with, and he just starts fighting alongside other people, or more specifically fighting to basically protect this kid by the name of Koda. Koda is terrified. I mean, he's losing it. He is absolutely terrified of what's happening, and terrified that basically this monstrous creature is trying to kill him. This monstrous guy is trying to end him, and he's trying to do everything in his power to defend Koda. And Izuku shows off his full connection with the earth and stone itself, because eventually he would get the upper hand, send Muscular into a wall or into the mountain, and make it so that he's stuck there permanently as the mountain basically absorbs him. And Izuku is watching as he grabs Koda, gets him out of harm's way, and leaves Muscular buried within this giant mountain. But before you know it, Izuku would be out there trying to help his classmates, and this little distraction of the forest training camp would come to an end when Shigaraki and many others are unable to capture Bakugo, and they are unable to get the upper hand that they needed to actually, take Bakugo and actually, take him over and basically get him to flip sides, or at least potentially get him to flip sides, so that they can get another person that is, for the most part, like their little, next up and coming strong villain, a part of their kind of organization. But Bakugo, well, for one, would have never gone for that. But for two, he was unable to be captured with the help of Izuku, utilizing his earthbending to a different degree. Honestly, he's able to kind of section out the villains and help out a lot after the Muscular fight, not having to be massively injured and beat up and destroyed to the extent that he was. He was able to then start kind of helping out and doing various things, trying to help out and protect so many other of his classmates that the villains were unable to capture Bakugo. But before you know it, and days after this occurs, you would have the invasion with All For One looking to actually end everything and everyone, including the one and only All Might, trying to put an end to All Might's kind of reign of heroism. And he, unfortunately, at least for him, fails. But fortunately for the world of Japan, or the world of My Hero Academia, he fails in the face of it all. But the League of Villains still try to stand tall, trying to do their best. But this leads to Shigaraki, Kurogiri, and many others of the League of Villains being captured on the scene, as many other heroes are there and not occupied to make sure that things get shut down and make sure that everything goes the way of the heroes. And before you know it, the League of Villains and All For One are put behind bars, and Izuku Midoriya and many others just watch this from afar, watch this from their televisions. But everybody has a bad feeling, an odd feeling, that this will not be the end of them and not be the end of those villains. And that would be definitely the truth. And after some time would pass, Izuku and his class would go off to get their provisional hero license, or at least do the exam for it. And the first portion has a lot to do with actually eliminating people via kind of like a dodgeball type of format. And Izuku doesn't have too much trouble in doing so, actually utilizing his earthbending to capture a couple people to easily eliminate them, and also utilizes some of his earthbending to kind of protect various people from getting actually tagged with various of these red balls. And after all this is said and done, after all this is handled, Izuku would then kind of continue toward the lobby and wait for the next portion. Wait for the next portion that is potentially going to happen. And the next portion that is going to basically occur is a rescue portion. Yes, a rescue portion. A rescue portion is pretty interesting because everybody is going to kind of work together. Everybody is going to kind of do things together to try to protect people, and Izuku is perfect for this, being able to use his earthbending to lift up buildings, help people out from under rubble, and various things like that. And eventually a giant wave of villains would show up, and Izuku's ability to kind of shift the earth and kind of and basically protect a good chunk of people that are there. It seems as if Izuku is able to, do his thing and help out where he can in terms of like separating the villains and also slowing down Gang Orca with his earthbending, with walls that he's able to set up, with craters that he would then create, and eventually the villains would be stalled out and a big stalemate would ensue as Inasa and Todoroki would make a vortex of some sorts with their fire and their wind, and eventually Gang Orca would be falling slow, or getting slower and slower, and falling a little bit short of what he was trying to do, leading to the students, a mass majority of them, passing the provisional hero license exam, except for Bakugo, Inasa, and Todoroki, who had a lot of trouble working either with the rescue people that needed to be rescued, or also have a hard time working together, which we did see initially when Inasa and also Todoroki tried to create the tornado as well, or the tornado for themselves. But as all this is kind of finishing up and as all this is concluding, Izuku gets various offers from various internships or from various work studies, and they would have a conversation with the big three about that specifically, leading to Mirio beating up on literally all of them. And that includes Izuku. Izuku, yes, he's able to do some pretty impressive things, but his earthbending doesn't really stand up to what Mirio is able to do, and he tries to catch him out. He tries to catch him off guard with various things, but he's unable to really get a hold of Mirio, really slow him down, and he's unable to really defeat him in a fight, and he still falls short just like the rest of the class. But it just proves that people with this work study experience is kind of like, you know, pretty ahead of a lot of people, and that right there just shows to Izuku that he needs to keep pushing it. He needs to keep going, and that he really needs to continue preparing for. He needs to keep continue preparing for the eventual time where he is going to be a hero, very similar to a more experienced person like Mirio, and he wants to train hard and work hard and all these things. And even asked Mirio if he wonders if he could somehow get into the work study that he's in. And yes, it takes a bit of a conversation and also a bit of a test for Izuku Midoriya, but Izuku's ability to control earth and stone and rocks and everything you can think of to a high degree, and a degree without even really thinking much about it, it makes it very difficult for the one and only Sir Night-Eye to say no to the idea of taking on an actual earth bender. And with that said, Izuku would continue pushing, would continue wanting to do more, and before you know it, he would be placed in a situation, a scenario that he'll never forget, a scenario that involves one by the name of Overhaul, and Izuku just doesn't exactly know what he should do. But there's one little factor, a little girl by the name of Eri, and it makes Izuku question if he should really hold back, if he should really wait, or should he go through with this and try and fight him here and now. But before you know it, you would be basically being told by Mirio to let it go, to let him leave, because this is the best way to kind of keep him safe, or keep Eri safe, excuse me. So this is the best way to approach it. And Izuku, in his head, he's thinking, no, I can't do that. Like, are you sure? Like, are you serious? Like, I can't just let this guy walk away with this child. But eventually, he does. He lets Overhaul leave and walk away, but he hopes by everything that this was not the wrong choice, that this was not the wrong decision, and he hopes that Mirio is right, and eventually it would be proven that he was right, because Izuku would be more than capable and more than helpful in the invasion of the Shiya Hazakai base, where he's able to basically break down every single wall that needs to be broken down so easily. But then on top of that, he's legitimately able to kind of do various things like you know, kind of get people into bad spots in terms of like creating like earth that surrounds them, or kind of putting them in little boxes where they're not, if they're not strong enough to break out, they're gonna be stuck there the entire time. And he makes various like little like earth or stone like prisons for various different villains, And this cuts the villains in like half, where Izuku's able to help out every single person that is all around, and eventually he arrives at where Mirio is currently fighting against Overhaul. And as a bullet would ring out straight toward Eri, Izuku would then put a kind of box around Eri where the bullet would just clatter off and do nothing, and Mirio would look toward her and see that Izuku has the defense of Eri handled, and Izuku grabs Eri and gets out of there ASAP, as Mirio continues to clash with Overhaul and gets the upper hand on multiple occasions. And as Sir Night-Eye arrives as well, Mirio and Sir Night-Eye as a duo keep up with the villain known as Overhaul and end up actually putting him on the back foot, to where he starts doing things that is out of the ordinary and borderline insane. But then eventually they would get that upper hand. They would need and get that upper hand, and Overhaul would slow down massively, even with the help of absorbing some of his other allies, and with the help of Izuku striking him as well, creating this giant boulder that gets chucked his way, distracting him just enough. Mirio and Sir Night-Eye would land hits to Overhaul and would eventually defeat him before any massive amounts of casualties, and the Sir Night-Eye agency is ending up on top on this day, and defeats and eliminates the one and only Shia Hazaikai, and the one and only that they know as of course the one of the craziest villains out there in Overhaul, outside of someone like All For One and stuff like that. But they're able to defeat Overhaul, put him behind bars, defeat the Shia Hazaikai, and put them behind bars as well. And eventually it leads the students of UA to continue on at being students, and Izuku Midoriya gets that chance as well, starting to for the most part work with and also train with his class and other people as well, leading to a Class 1A versus Class 1B type of fight, a fight that is pretty interesting and pretty insane. But at the end of the day, Izuku has such an advantage over so many of them that it makes it pretty straightforward for Izuku to find his way in defeating them. But more specifically, he finds his way in defeating even Monoma, who tries to steal his quirk, but realizes that he can't actually even utilize it like at all, being that Izuku's quirk initially was very underwhelming, to the point where if you wanted to learn it, you would have to learn it to a degree that most people would have no idea how to utilize it. And that right there allows for Izuku to kind of keep every single person at bay, and also really stay on top in terms of defeating so many of his fellow classmates. But eventually, real serious work would begin. Now, they would start working with work studies. Izuku would continue working with Sir Night-Eye's agency, but before you know it, the idea of this kind of invasion of some sorts would actually happen. This invasion that we're talking about is a prison break, a break that it seems that people are going to be dealing with, and a prison break that is involving, well, one person. That is Overhaul, but one group more specifically is the Shia Hazaikai, or the League of Villains. And that right there is pretty damn terrifying. And because before you know it, after only a couple months past this idea of a prison break, these villains preparing for that specifically, well, it eventually would ensue, and a giant creature, something that Izuku has been preparing for a very long time, would start running toward the prison that is basically protecting the villain, or League of Villains, and also All For One. Now, Izuku's main job is to slow down Gigantomachia, and he does just that. He's sending everything at Gigantomachia, everything that he could possibly muster, anything that he can possibly do, he is sending the way of Gigantomachia. throwing these like earth-like waves, sending all of these various things, and he's trying everything to slow him down, knowing that if he doesn't slow him down, things could go bad, and go bad really, really fast. And that's the last thing he would want. Last thing he does want. He doesn't want anybody to be in trouble. And this time that he is able to basically grant so many of these other heroes, it gives them enough time to kind of slow down the various other villains that are a part of this this kind of prison break, but also give them enough time to help him out as well, leading them to actually kind of defeating a vast amount of villains. And Midnight and many other heroes would show up to help Izuku, as Izuku is legitimately trying to stop Gigantomachia in his tracks, making this quicksand underneath his feet, hardening that quicksand so Gigantomachia can no longer move. And he's only just, we're talking yards away from the prison, and Izuku is holding him still with all his might, and everybody around him is trying their best to slow him down, utilizing kind of this kind of pheromones that Midnight is able to produce to pass out Gigantomachia. And Izuku Midoriya engulfs him in so much earth and so much stone that the kind of pheromones get all stuck within there, and the pheromones themselves are all kind of within the kind of prison he creates for Gigantomachia, completely made out of stone. And eventually it seems as if it seems that Izuku is able to basically slow him down enough to where he passes out entirely, and they imprison him entirely as well. And luckily enough, this prison break was able to be slowed down, stopped, and put to a halt. And this would be the last time that these students would have to deal with such a kind of tragic event, at least to an extent, and for at least for a little bit. They're not going to have to worry about the League of Villains and these massive invasions anymore, and they're able to go on throughout the years of their own high school as regular kids trying to be some of the greatest heroes. And after the first, second, and third years of UA would go on past, Izuku would look forward to his heroic adventures, being able to channel his inner earthbender and channel his ability to utilize the stone beneath his feet, the metal that surrounds them, and even kind of the ground all around, from stone to ground to metal to sand itself. Izuku Midoriya's manipulation of it all, his ability to bend earth itself, allowed him to crack into the top 20 of the heroes just 2 years out of high school. And not only that, he would be a very big component of helping so many people, so many all around, not just helping them and saving them from hardships and other things like that, saving them from typical villain activity, but also being able to create as well, utilizing earthbending to create housing and places and homes for the least fortunate. And Izuku Midoriya would do it all as a hero, and he may never touch the role of the number one, but it doesn't change the fact that he's one of the greatest and will be one of the greatest heroes alive. But with that said, that is the end of this story. And if you guys enjoyed, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, show some love, like I said, to the video. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.